Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to another episode of Walk-Ins Welcome with Nick and Michael, brought to you by Patient Care Marketing Pros. We're pumped to have some guests on the podcast today. I know we like to have a lot of conversation around front desk woes, and front desk solutions. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But Michael, what's going on, man? How are you?
Man, it is. I feel like we are in the wettest summer I've ever been in. Yeah. And we're here in Birmingham, and it has rained almost every day this month except for like yesterday.
And it looks like it's going to rain today.
It's probably going to rain today. Never ends. But no, so we have a guest on today. This guest is very fascinating to me because, like you said, we talk about front desk problems all the time. And so far, generally speaking, the solutions are fire your front desk and find somebody better, or retrain, or use AI all in. And that seems to be like, or just live with it. Right. That just seems to be the options right now.
Or a call center,
which those are just like, those are hard to find good ones. But now we have, like, I call it like a hybrid almost, because it's basically kind of like the best of a lot of different worlds all put together, because you're having a chance to take your best people and maximize what they're doing.
That's right.
But in terms of hybrid, it's called HiBridge. So HiBridge is a really cool virtual front desk system. And we have Mark and Wendy on today with us. So they founded this back in 2015. Wendy was in the PT world for a long time. She had a practice back in 1992 up until sold in 2020. So she's seen a lot in the medical space. I mean, it's just incredible how much can happen over that time period. I mean, so much. And then, Mark on the other side, now they're married, but Mark on the other side, he's the entrepreneurial guy. Like he's had Five Guys. He has a dumpster recycling company, and now he has HiBridge. And it's just one of these fascinating things where I feel like Wendy probably had the medical, like, oh, this is something we should probably look at. And Mark's like, I like building businesses. Let's see what we can do and make it all mixed together. And then here we are today. So it's awesome. Mark and Wendy, so glad to have you on.
Mark and Wendy Lucas is with us. Say hello to the Walk-Ins Welcome audience and tell us one thing about you that nobody knows.
Wendy, go first. Hello.
Mine will stun you probably. Most people don't know that I actually know and have touched and lived with not actually physically live with, but around a serial killer. Yeah, I ask. Yeah.
Is the serial killer on with us now? Do you need to blink?
No.
That's encouraging.
This was during college, so I'm actually really good at solving problems. I found a way to exit myself from that whole, not my relationship, but a friend relationship. So yeah, it's crazy that somebody in medicine would know a serial killer other than just treating them, right?
Oh my goodness, that's wild. Yeah, okay, all right, Mark's on.
I'm not even sure I remembered that one. I was like, wow. I was the first franchisee of Five Guys, Burgers and Fries. Ended up with 11.
Oh, that's wild. Okay.
11 stores in Virginia, North Carolina. And I can ride a unicycle.
That's pretty cool.
He did in Walmart Christmas Eve. He rode the unicycle in Walmart Christmas Eve. Yes.
I'm gonna need video evidence of that.
Wait, so I need to see you on a unicycle at a Five Guys.
Yeah, that's right. I could be treacherous.
Scooping up some peanuts.
Yeah.
Well, we are pumped to have you on the podcast today. We talked earlier on the intro of the podcast. It's such a challenge at the front desk level. Just so many missed calls in the urgent care space. They go unanswered. It's missed opportunity. It's missed revenue. And a lot of times we're seeing AI answering services, which are great if you can get them to work the way you want them to. So we are fans of it. But some people do not want that. They don't want an AI solution. They want to talk to a human being. More importantly, they want a face-to-face connection. So I'm giving you the beautiful setup. Tell us about HiBridge. Tell us what the product actually is.
I'll start out by telling where it came from originally.
Love it.
I'll let you take over. Yeah, so back in 2015, we still had the PT clinics. My background's actually in technology. And so she had enough front desk. And she said, I want a virtual front desk. And so I got my marching orders, and so I said, all right, we'll build it. So we built it, and it wasn't great at first. I'll be the first to admit it, but just over the years, it got better and better and better. And by the time 2019 rolled around, we had a lot of people coming through, particular physicians that were saying, wow, you got to do something with this. And so we launched a virtual product during COVID, which was perfect timing. It was really good timing. And so it kind of took off from there. So I'll let Wendy tell you what it does.
Well, no. I mean, really, it's just one of those things you just get tired of the problems, as you've said. At the time we started developing the product, we had 5 offices. So, as you can imagine, and 2 of our offices were next to urgent care, 2 were next to occupational medicine, and 1 was next to ortho. So, have a lot of experience around different lines of medicine, which has proven very helpful for this. But, exactly, it was the call outs, it was the turnover, stealing. We can tell more and more stories along those lines. But yeah, looking at what could we do to make life differently. And that's what I tell people today. It's like, we're in a environment where there's nothing that's impossible. As I tell our programming team, nothing's impossible. It's just how long will it take and how much will it cost to get it done. So we started thinking about life differently. And so we had 3 goals when we started this. And you kind of touched on them, like with AI, with phone calls. A lot of people hang up on them because it's very quick to see. You can quickly tell that it's AI. Now, will that get better? Yes, it will. And there are some components for it. But we wanted to keep that human touch. I think medicine probably will be one of the last places for AI to completely take over, because people have a lot of ailments. They have pain. They just aren't really, what should I say, understanding of anything as they come through. They want that compassion and that human touch. We also wanted the product to be able to interact with anyone. So the patient would not have to do anything in order for it to be just like it was if they walked in there. So our product does provide live streaming video of the waiting room. So it's as if a person's sitting in your waiting rooms at all times. It's just they can sit in every single waiting room. So it's what we call, instead of a 3D human, it's a 1D human.
I love that.
And we can control all kinds of hardware. Anything they can do, print, scan, take payments, all of those things can be done through the system.
Well, I know you guys will need to kind of paint a visual for the podcast listeners, because when I first saw it, I was like, wait, it's a screen per se, and there's like a mental hump you have to get over about that, because I think there's like an automatic resistance. People aren't going to talk to a screen. Well, thanks to COVID, they made that conversation a lot simpler.
For sure.
And then, because honestly, during the heart of COVID, everybody had that piece of plexiglass or whatever glass in front of them. So it was basically a screen at that point, because they weren't going to hold your hand anyway.
It was a plexiglass right about there that I could just
look around.
It was super effective.
Yeah. So like, kind of give like so for the urgent care owners that are listening, like, what do you mean? Like, I can do this remotely or whatever, and they can still do things. Kind of walk me through, as a patient, and I'm walking into the clinic, what is a patient going to see in a HiBridge?
Yeah, great question, because it is kind of hard to fathom, because we're so used to what I call a cold kiosk, where you have to touch it and basically you just get a lot of prompts and you do those things. You actually rarely ever see a face. Sometimes you will. We talk about faces in Teams, but we don't think about like a kiosk. So think about those 2 things being together. But our system is an all-in-one computer. It has a camera, a wide angle camera at the top that's feeding live streaming video. So think about it like a security officer at a large complex. So they have each of those little screens that are showing them different places of the building. For us, each of those screens on the reception shot is showing us live streaming video of the waiting rooms. So when a patient walks in, instead of having to wait to initiate a call or touch the screen or do anything, your receptionist can pop right up on the screen and greet them just like they would if they were sitting behind that plexiglass. So as soon as I see you walk through the door, I can pop on and I can say, "Hi, Nick, how are you doing today?" Or "How may I help you?" And then we can conduct business just like we always did.
Does it auto wake up? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
No, go ahead. Yes.
It does. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You were saying something. I want to let you speak.
There's really 2 parts, right? So there's a clinic part and there's a receptionist part. And so the receptionist can be anywhere. I mean, we have companies that outsource to the Philippines. I mean, they literally can be anywhere if they have a good internet connection, if they're fine. So on the clinic side, like Wendy said, you're seeing them visually just like we're seeing each other right now, except it's just one person, right? And so they interact with the patient just like a person would do sitting at the desk in the exact same way. And as Wendy said, you can take payments, we could scan credit cards or health insurance cards, we could print locally, so if they would need a receipt or a doctor's note, something like that, or they can even scan documents too. So all that can be done at the clinical side. On the receptionist side, that's where you're seeing the multi-view windows. So for instance, for us, we had 10 clinics, and so you could see a live streaming video session of each one of those 10 clinics on that same screen. So it allowed the receptionists to pop in and out of these offices very efficiently. And they could also see, each receptionist could see what the other ones are doing. And so if they put somebody on hold, they could see that and all these things. So what happened for us is that because of that efficiency, so if we had 10 clinics, we only needed 3 receptionists to work all 10 clinics, because they could they could utilize this. I call it a glorified switchboard on steroids, and so they can see it all. And so we cut our overhead down considerably. And the other part too is that since we only needed 3 receptionists instead of 10, everybody has a turnover problem. And so we just said, well, we'll just pay them more. We'll pay them $3 more an hour. Then the turnover problem went away. So it was a lot of benefits that came from it that we didn't even anticipate up front.
So I want to make sure that I reiterate what you just said. If you pay them more, the turnover slows down.
Yes.
Somebody needs to hear that, because I feel like we've been screaming that forever. Right.
And I think it's hard when you're looking at your margins. If you're paying 10 or 12 or 15 people more, like in our case, we had anywhere between 12 and 15 to cover those offices. That's a lot of money. You pay 3 people a little bit more, it actually becomes far less. And actually, the interesting thing too was, and I think we see it even more in this environment, they actually liked not being in the office. I think we forget sometimes how beat up they get up front too. Some of the things that come at them. And the urgent cares we've onboarded, the receptionists, and have told us, man, I love this because I don't have everybody coughing on me, or, I'm touching their things, and I'm sick all the time because, the things that come in and through there, and just dealing with some of the things that, we all know we have to deal with.
So I'm curious on this, because I'm for like a visual standpoint. Let's say we have a clinic that's coming on with HiBridge. Are they essentially wherever the front desk was, they're just placing this a screen, a computer, a screen with a camera and so forth, right where it was essentially? Is that the mindset usually?
Yes. They can actually set it on the countertop in front of that plexiglass if they have room. There's a variety of ways. We send them all kinds of different picture setups and access to different types of ways they may want to do it. Some of our larger clients like to embed it in a more formal kiosk, like you may see at the airport or something like that. A lot of clients are going with a stand where the kiosk sits and then the printer scanner or whatever they need underneath of that as well.
Well, I think one thing that you guys touched on, but it's just so important, is like, if like I said, you had 10 locations, which means you had at least 10 receptionists at some point. And with your system, you got it down to 3, and it was very efficient. And like, I could pay more people more, but also too, it allows you to hire higher skilled people, which
Correct.
Then fixes some of the experience problems that front desk can create. And which then also, like we talk about phone call stuff, like these people can be trained on how to convert somebody into an appointment a lot easier than somebody that's like, I'm just here to collect the paycheck and go home. So I just there's so many interesting benefits here. That's why I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, like it's kind of like a weird hybrid where you still get to use the front desk people, but you use them in like a high performance, high efficient way. But the burnout is not so bad because they're not sitting there like physically trying to fight with people.
Right, exactly. And especially, if you have more than one location, that one location may be getting slammed at a certain time frame, and another one they're sitting there playing Candy Crush or something. And this system, it's not only that there can be a number of receptionists helping the same office. So think about it: if you get a run on a clinic, you would be able to just place extra people there and then put them in another office. So with this system, you can do that because they can see all of
teleportation
it.
system.
Yeah.
Right.
Transport.
So that opens the door to a question I'm trying to grasp is, do I have to hire the employees myself and then put them in this kiosk situation? Or is this a giant boiler room full of people that are managing 100 different clinics? Help me understand that.
Yeah, we can do it any way that people want. Some people do want to keep their staff. Like in our case, I tell people, whoever the cream of your crop are, keep them if that's what you want to do. Some people have had it with all of their staff, just want to outsource all of it, which we can do. Some people want to keep some of their staff and utilize staffing agencies, either ones they have or ones we have. Our staff they all work from a facility, either domestic or offshore. They're not working out of their homes. So security and HIPAA regulations are there. They're wanded before they go into the facility. So no smartphones, smart glasses, Apple Watches, none of that stuff is there. And yes, they are trained in how to perform for front desk services, patient care. And then if you use our staff, once you train them in your processes, we document that for you, both video and a written documentation. So if you want to add staff, change staff, all that training after the first time, we take on. So you don't have to. I tell people, I'm never training again, which everyone loves training, right?
Yeah. Or the retrain and the retrain.
Right.
And the retrain.
Exactly.
That's right. I was going to say, you have to build out all these SOPs just to make sure that you train people properly. And there's the high turnover front desk. In your experience, is that a high turnover role?
Yes,
I
I
thought
did
so,
a
but
yeah, I did a podcast right after the urgent care conference, and I did some research for that. Presently, there are over 118,000 open healthcare reception positions. The turnover for that position is between 45 and 50%.
Gosh.
Cost of that turnover is between a half and two times their salary. So anywhere between $20,000 and $83,000 are the statistics. So most positions are turning over at least once, sometimes twice, at the tune of $20,000 to $80,000. So it's expensive.
all right. What do you think is driving that turnover?
I think it is competition, shortage of labor. We do know that birth rates are down. We have labor shortages. We have people, our reimbursement in healthcare is not going up, but cost of living is going up. And then we have competitors in different markets that can raise their prices to whatever. I mean, I was at a local convenience store and they're offering $24 an hour. So, I mean, that's kind of hard to compete with benefits. So when you start looking at that sort of thing, it's too hard to compete in the market with where we are. We just don't have the margins to compete.
It's real.
And people don't want to work.
Well, no, there's no doubt about that. And the ones that you do find to work constantly want more and more and more and more and more.
That's right.
Without, I might add, adding any additional anything to them. It's kind of
Correct.
wild to me. Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
well, we want to pay twice as much money, but we don't want to do any more. If not, we want to do less.
Exactly.
Yep. So one of the things that I've noticed on the front desk in all of the clinics that we work with is the front desk person does more than answer the phone. All right. So if I'm putting in a kiosk, but I'm counting on that kiosk front desk person that I'm not paying extra $3 an hour to do 3 other jobs inside the clinic, how is this tackling those type of situations?
Yeah, it's really leveraging that talent over where you're busy and not. So typically you're going to have more than, depending on your volume, and we right size that. We know based on what you have, what efficiencies you have. So we can do a lot of, like, for people who want to self check in, that takes some of the load off. We do correlate the video calls with the phone calls so that we can route phones and video calls based on your staffing. So we do a lot of those types of things, and we know how many FTEs it takes based on your volume of visits and your hours that you're open, days and hours that you're open. So we help you find that sweet spot. And then again, like I said, some people hybrid will fill in for some of those areas where in the past they just didn't have anybody up front, or they were using their MA to go up front and do those things, so that they're running back and forth and you're just not creating the efficiencies that you want.
Talking about the MA stuff, and one of our biggest, at least mine at least, one of our biggest pet peeves with front desk is they're not afraid at all to say, let me let you talk to the provider. And then our push is like, no, you do that. The provider by default wants to help that person on the phone or whatever. And then they give out enough info and that patient either doesn't come in or, cancels the appointment or whatever. Cause like, oh, that's all I needed to hear. And that's lost revenue. And so it's just like, I don't know. I just see it so often. We're like, yeah, let somebody else talk instead of me talking, because I got other things I got to do. And that goes back to that high school person saying, folks, like, no, this is my job first. I can't just pawn it off as quickly as possible. Or I didn't educate myself well enough on what my clinic actually offers. We've had some comical recordings in the past of, do you guys offer X-ray? And the front desk is like, I don't really know.
Yeah. That can cost you so much. And that's a really cool thing too, as Mark was saying, that we can outsource our staffing, and we're able to get a high level, like nursing level staff for right around $12 to $14 an hour. And these people have completed nursing school. And so you really have someone who knows, high level medical information. Now, they'll never answer further than what you want them to do, but they are going to know what's available at your clinic. The other nice thing about, you talk about a kiosk being cold and those things, but when you're on this, just like we're on this call, we're engaged in this call. We're not doing other things because we know we're engaged, versus like when you walk into most offices, they're behind that glass or that plexiglass. And I always say they threaten you. They look up like, are you kidding? You're interrupting what I'm doing. You really want me to talk to you? Whereas you can't do this on that. Once you're in that call, you're in that call, and there's no hiding, I guess I would say.
You're exactly right, because there's such a frustration to have when I'm on a video call and it becomes apparent the person I'm on the call with is distracted, and it becomes very personal to me. Like, why are we even talking if you're obviously going to try to do something else in front of me? So,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then the neat thing about our system is they actually see themselves. So the receptionist sees their self when they're talking to you. And that actually has helped a lot of people. They're like, I never realized I did that. I never realized I do this every time I'm talking to somebody, whatever it is. But yeah.
You need like a little text overlay that says smile more, smile more, smile more.
That's right.
Yes. It's amazing what a smile will fix. It's so
Yeah.
true.
That's true. I love it.
Mark, you sound like you want to chime in. I want to hear from you.
Oh no, I was just agreeing, laughing with what Wendy's saying, but it is true. It's a tough job, and we've just seen a lot of people get beat up by it. I will add one more thing too, because this just goes. I always keep going back to the financial stuff, but the kiosk is, when you put it in, you can put it in the window.
Hey, real quick, if you've been thinking about how to get your clinic up to 23 patients per day and beyond, Patient Care Marketing Pros is here to help you scale. We've worked with hundreds of locations to drive results through digital marketing services. We do search engine optimization, Google Ads, Facebook, Meta, all the different ways that we can help you drive more patients through your doors. If you want to see what your clinic looks like online, what your competitors are doing, and how we can help fill in the gaps to grow your clinic, click on the link below and get a discovery call with myself or Michael or Grace. We'll show you what's working, what's not, and we will help you get past that 23 patients per day barrier and beyond. I look forward to speaking with you.
But a lot of these clinics have a fairly large front desk office space. And so we've seen, like in our practice, we actually turned all that space into treating space. And so now, you're paying for it anyways. And so why not turn it into a revenue producing space instead of just having this empty space where somebody was sitting there answering phones? So that was another benefit we found, is just reclaiming that space. Or if you open a new clinic, it just doesn't have to be as big. We've seen some clinics with as much as 500 square feet for a front desk. And so it's, it was a big benefit.
An interesting point there. So we just had this morning our virtual mastermind with our clients. This is where like urgent cares get to come on and we have issues. How can we help each other type of thing? And one of the things that were brought up, we had an urgent care that has an office space, like a physical office space that's split with their urgent care in their PT/Chiro, but there's no like true, that was their issue. Like there was no true way of like, well, when you walk up to the single front desk, who are you talking to? And what kind of patient are you? And we talked about, well, why don't you put up a physical wall? And they're like, well, it's not the way the building is. It wouldn't work. So now I'm even thinking like, oh, they could install HiBridge and have a dedicated spot toward the front that would catch all the urgent care patients up front, and then allow them, like it would kind of separate it. And the cost of that would be completely different versus like finding a new building or chopping up a building or whatever. So it's interesting. Yeah. Like I love the idea, like you maximizing your space. Where if it's like sitting there wasting a bunch of space, we could maximize it. Or if we have a very small bit of space, how can we make use of this very tiny spot and make it work?
Yeah, we do have some clients that do multiple things, and they'll ask, are you checking in for, orthopedics? Are you checking in for some of our visual? Are you checking in for contact lenses? Are you checking in for for eye appointment? So you can make options on that screen. So our welcome screen that they see before they're engaged, if you want to, can be whatever you want to design. You can actually even have it advertising for you. So while patients are sitting in the waiting room and no one's at the front, it can roll like, what are your new services? It's flu season. Have you gotten your flu shot? Ask your provider while you're in with them. So you can actually use it to generate revenue and business for you while it's just sitting there, which I can bet you that your front desk person is not doing.
So Mark, backing up to, let's say 2015, when y'all started working on HiBridge in the first place, AI wasn't really around much at that point. Developing any kind of software cost an absolute fortune. And you had to, maybe both of you, I don't know. So I guess the bigger question is, who brainchilded this? Like, how did this even get birthed in the first place?
It was Wendy just getting mad at me one day and saying, I'm on a virtual front desk. I'm tired of this.
And you, the entrepreneur, stepped in and like, I'm gonna fix it.
We've been married almost 38 years, so I've learned my lesson more than once.
Yeah. Yes, here is the answer, right?
He's being kind. I am not the brainchild. I just said it needs to do this. And we actually partnered with a guy that he was in college with. It was a roommate of his that does a lot of programming, had done some programming for us on other tasks that we had then, and started putting it together. So I always say, all I do is tell him what it has to do. Mark and his team has to figure out how to do it. and I don't want to hear you can't.
That's what we tell our AIs right now. Don't tell me you can't do it. Try again.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, with HiBridge specifically, what would you do different today if you were going to launch it today than you did 10 years ago?
How long is this podcast?
I mean, honestly, I'm curious about how you build companies.
It actually started out very differently because we had this little thing called a Kubi, which was an articulating arm that you could put like an iPad on, and it could be controlled remotely. And we were using it to pan the office, just kind of look around because they could use like a mouse. And so you could pan the office and see what was going on. And then we figured out we could actually communicate through it. And so we started doing that. But then that company went out of business. And so we no longer had a Kubi. And so then we realized that, hey, this thing is really starting to it's starting to provide some benefit. Let's see if we can take this a little further. And so we hired some developers and I kind of worked it out.
How hard is it to resist incorporating AI into this human touch for you?
We've already done it in quite a bit. Yeah. It's, AI, it's kind of a junk term really now because it means so many different things.
Right.
We used to call it machine learning back in the day. We had
big data.
Yeah, we had another company back in the early 2000s. We did voice to text, very early EMR and a documentation system. And that was machine learning is what it is. And AI more or less is the same kind of thing. It just has a much broader depth of knowledge than we could do through machine learning. Machine learning is repetition. AI is repetition as well, but it also has access to a lot more data, a lot more information. But we're not stupid. I mean, eventually people will probably go away at the front desk and it will be AI driven. So we're clearly working on that as well. But like Wendy said earlier, the healthcare business is just different than most others. They like that real person. And we even tried some of the humanoids. They're still a little creepy. So, we'll just keep plugging away with what we're doing. But yeah, it's certainly being utilized now.
Well, I love the fact that you're at least thinking of that situation and that circumstance. Wendy had brought up earlier, hey, we're just not having babies the way we used to have babies. You know what I mean? And, honestly, that bears out true in the world, my world, where nobody wants to have babies. That's the wildest thing. So that doesn't seem to be, birth rates don't seem to be climbing for whatever reason. So there has to be a solution at some point to replace this dwindling workforce. So I love the fact that y'all are drawing that conclusion and putting that solution in place. With that, let's talk about how people are going to interact with you for the first time. A clinic is hearing this. They're like, okay, I've got 8 or 9 or 10, or maybe even 3 or 4 locations or 50 locations, whatever. This sounds like a solution that we need. How do I even start this conversation with you guys?
Yeah. So we usually set up a call so we can kind of get to know what their clinic needs are and then kind of walk them through the technology and actually show it to them. We have simulated clinics so we can show you just how it looks from the patient side, how it looks from the reception side. And then we have a number of ways to come on board. You can pilot and see how it goes for you. You can, as I said, you can open a few clinics with it and just add. As we did our practice, we didn't do all 5 when we first started. We did a few and then we just added them. And then pretty quickly we were adding over and over. It's actually one of our cutest stories when we first launched. We have a lot of customers in California. We have this one guy, he's just really fun, but he was like, I'm going to keep my people. And then as it went along, he got more and more frustrated with his people and especially costs in California. And he called one Friday night. For us, it was 10 o'clock. For him, it was 7 because we were in Virginia. And he was like, I had somebody quit. It was a Friday night. I was like, okay, I'm really sorry. He goes, I'm not sorry. Send me another kiosk. So he was no longer beholden to his front desk either. We feel like that, they control a lot of strings for us. And when we get back some of that power, it's really nice.
Well, I can relate to that. I have no intention of letting any of my team go, but there's in some circumstances that I can think of right now where if they were to leave, I would not have the need to replace them. Right.
Yeah, or knowing that you have a replacement, you have a solution. Like you're not just going, oh my gosh, I'm up all night. What am I going to do tomorrow when I don't have something? You have a solution in place.
Yeah.
So on that right there, what kind of time frame is it from, hey, Wendy, I like this product. What do we do next? From that conversation to your product is in their clinic functioning. How long is that time?
Yeah. Our typical timeline implementation is 2 weeks. We've done it as fast as a week from Virginia to Alaska. So a lot of that was shipping. And again, it depends if you use our staff or yours. If your staff is already trained, it can be, all it takes is getting it there. Our product is very intuitive. I say we copied after Apple. So all the icons for how to operate it are very intuitive. It looks like a phone when you're answering it. It looks like a copier when you're making a copy or printing something. So everything is very intuitive. And it arrives plug and play. If you buy hardware from us, all you have to do is plug it into power and Ethernet, and we come on and configure everything for you. We do all the training for your staff. We provide support, and all of our updates are included in our software fee because, we're always improving. We do at least a quarterly release of new features and new activities, if not more.
I think one of the things that I appreciate is, one, while you're on the podcast, this isn't a startup, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that y'all have an established business model that's been put into the marketplace that is seeing very strong success across multiple healthcare verticals. How long have you been in the urgent care space specifically?
We actually launched with the urgent care conference as far as like getting into that before. Yeah, we also do participate in 9 other medical verticals besides, urgent care and therapy and stuff, but orthopedics, urology, gastroenterology, rheumatology, general practice. So it's neat. Front desk is a front desk, right? It's just a little bit different what we have to do.
You got it.
I have a funny story. Yeah. One of our good friends, he's an urgent care physician, and he has his own practice, and it's right next to one of our PT clinics. And so we had HiBridge in there, and he could see it every single day. So, he was struggling a little bit with his business, and he'll call me and ask me business stuff from time to time. And he said, so I need to find a way to cut my front desk costs. And I said, well, and he always says, let me preface this, he probably has 4 people up front. And he says, he calls them his girls. He says, I love my girls. I need to have my girls. And so he said, I need to cut my costs and generate more revenue. And I said, well, the solution is right in the same lobby that you currently have. And it's HiBridge. And he goes, right. Yeah, you may be right. So you could probably do 1 person at front desk instead of 4. And so guess what? He's becoming a customer now.
Well, I think one of the best ways to approach HiBridge is not to come in and just replace your entire staff. Say, let's have a conversation, because attrition is so high. I would rather have the solution ready to go than just have it, I know somebody's going to be quitting in the next 3 to 6 months or even month, right? I know it's going to happen because we've seen it. What if I already had a solution ready to play out? That's the play in my book.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
You ask about keeping staff too. And I think urgent care has a lot of trials that traditional medicine does not have, because it's late hours and it's Saturdays and Sundays. And not many people in America want to work on Saturday and Sundays. They don't want to work, period. But, that is a nice thing too. You can utilize our staff just for Saturdays and Sundays. There was a cute guy at the urgent care conference. He's like, yeah, I get the phone. I hear they're sick. And I tell them I hope they feel better, and hope I hang up before I say, I know you're lying. I was like, okay.
That's funny.
But yeah, some of groups will just use Saturday and Sunday. We have a minimum of 20 hours a week. So, let them work your late hours and your weekends. And just like you said, start with something that helps you and everybody wins. And then you have a solution. If other things transpire, again, you have control. You're not beholden to whatever happens up front.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it as a rollover process.
Yeah, it is like a good rollover / all right, we're going to commit to the rollovers now, plan A instead of plan B. Like that. Nothing wrong. I mean, we kind of see that in some of our stuff.
Right.
But even talking about the idea of, hey, we can increase your quality of life because you can do this from home, per se. You don't have to be in the clinic every single day. Because we deal with that at our own agency. Like, we have a hybrid model, and people adore working from home, but they also don't mind coming into the office to interact with human type interaction type stuff. So because traditionally urgent care, you have to be in person, every position. There's no except for maybe owner manager that can work from home, but everybody else has to be there. And now oh, actually you can work from home. So if this works out better for you, works out better for everybody, then we all win.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. And, I know people have asked me, what am I going to do about the emergency that, falls out in the waiting room or is having a heart attack? We actually have that system solution as well. So we're seeing that waiting room live time. So we also have areas that we created a back area so we can also see the provider. I call it a bullpen. People call it different things, workstations, whatever. So if I were the receptionist and you're a lobby of your urgent care, I see a person struggling, throwing up, falling out, whatever it is, I can actually I call it a code red in the back. We can term it whatever the practice wants it to be. I can see when your providers come to the waiting room. I can see when they leave if they're all in rooms, I can see that. When they come out, I can see that. And meanwhile, I can also be calling 911. So if I'm in person, I've got to come out there, be in the waiting room. I've got to get them back or whatever. Meanwhile, no one's calling 911. So all of those things can happen simultaneously and quickly. And we're right on target with what's happening.
Love it.
Yep.
HiBridge.live is the website. We'll put that down in the show notes. And I want to encourage anybody who may be struggling with their front desk from the standpoint of either filling the role or seeing high turnover, or maybe you just need a more cost-effective solution. Go to HiBridge.live and watch the video. They actually have a really good video of how the thing works. I went and watched it probably about 2 hours ago before this podcast because I wanted to understand it before I got on here. I'm like, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
And then two, you get a chance to meet Mark and Wendy Lucas, and very cool people. We had a chance to interact with you at the Urgent Care Association conference in Chicago. My team loved hanging out with you guys. So I got nothing but positive feedback. I wasn't there personally, but my team really enjoyed interacting with you. What's one thing that you want to leave with the audience before we go off here?
One, make sure if you go to HiBridge.live, it's H-I, not H-I-G-H. So there's no G-H, just HiBridge. This is kind of you mentioned I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, but this is really a labor of love. And Wendy's mentioned this before. This product actually helps people in a real way. I mean, it impacts their bottom line. A lot of people in medicine, as Wendy mentioned, reimbursements has been cut or they've just gone flat. But the cost of doing business, as everybody knows, is really dramatically increased. And so we just see, it's so gratifying for me just to see people, we're solving a real problem. It's not costing them additional money, it's cutting costs. And so we had another great example. We had a guy up in Manhattan, New York, and he was just a single guy, single practice, but he was paying his receptionist $70,000 a year. That's the only way he could get one in New York City. And so he put HiBridge in, and we got him a receptionist from North Carolina, and $15 an hour. They love her accent. And it's saved him. But this guy gets emotional just talking about how much it changed his life, And we've heard the same thing from even much larger practices. They've cut their costs dramatically, and even things like the copay collections are way up. If you don't collect at the time of service, you might as well write it off. And so we've seen copay collections as high as 95, 100% now.
Yeah, y'all have that built right into the kiosk. I saw, like, you can tap your card right there, get that money.
Yeah, it's our card on file.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's so much easier. But
y'all talked about the printer. I'm over here like, I like the tap to pay. That's what I care about.
Yeah.
I don't want any paper.
Yeah,
and we're even multilingual too. So if you're somewhere that's you're Spanish speaking or whatever, we can do that as well.
Can you do Russian? There was one area where we had a group of it was a healthcare provider, and it was a very Russian area. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
In the Miami area, there's a huge Russian community.
Who'd have thought?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. Everything's figure outable, right?
That's right.
Well, we do. I think we have 12 different languages, and I'm sure Russian is one of them. So
at the very least, you can get your AI bot to stand it down. And we have an AI bot named Victor who hangs out with us, so we know all about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, well, look, we really appreciate y'all coming on the podcast with us today. I want to encourage our listeners, get into the show notes, click on the link, go schedule a walkthrough of the product, go watch the video. I think you're going to really like how this is going to affect your practice. It's going to have a positive impact. So thank y'all for coming on. I appreciate you taking time with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
And as always, we thank you for listening to us, and we'll catch you next week.
See you then.
See ya.